All right, hello, and welcome to episode 59 of the GGG podcast. The Game Awards happened last night, and I am so excited to talk about it. We're just going to be talking all Game Awards announcements, going to be talking about some of the winners as well. Before we get into anything, Phil, were you able to catch some of the Game Awards last night, or was there anything in particular that got you excited?
So I am a firm believer in not watching award shows in general because I think they're very silly, but I was on Reddit following all of the announcements last night and rooting for my favorite games, of course. So there was some really, really great stuff to see, obviously. It is really the new E3 all kind of like collapsed into one night because we got so many crazy big and crazy weird announcements. The only thing that I feel like was missing that I thought we would get would be some sort of Switch 2. Like, I thought this is if you really want to blow our socks off, show us a Switch 2. But did not happen. But I think the stuff we got is equally as good, if not better.
Sure. I think you're just tired of talking about the Switch 2 without knowing anything. I think that's what
I just want to see it.
I want to know. Yeah, I watched it live. I had a great time. Like, there were definitely some awkward moments, like Harrison Ford coming out on stage, and that's cool and everything, but you could tell he was just like, I don't want to be here. This is a paycheck kind of a thing.
First they make me Red Hulk, and now I have to do this shit.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little weird, but and aside from like a couple of weird spots, like the amount of announcements that they just pushed throughout this whole Game Awards this year was a lot of stuff, and we're going to try and talk about as much of it as we can. There's still going to be things that fall through the cracks, but we want to make sure we hit all the major stories. But before we get into it, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to the GGG podcast over on YouTube, please do so. And if you're listening to the audio only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow us over there as well. All right, real quick, before we get into all the announcements, and while Harrison Ford is still in the conversation, Indiana Jones: The Great Circle came out this week. It is this week's major release, and I think it's getting a pretty good response from what I've seen reviewers and gamers. Nobody's like, this is the best game ever, it should be a game of the year, but oh yeah,
it's on IGN's Game of the Year list.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, it's one of its contenders, which is pretty wild. I played the beginning of it. I think I played probably the first 45 minutes, and then I thought to myself, oh, I could be playing Marvel Rivals right now. So I stopped playing Indiana Jones immediately and went back to Marvel Rivals.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think the graphics look great. So I haven't played it myself, but the graphics definitely look great. I'm just not an Indiana Jones fan, and that's not to say I dislike Indiana Jones at all. It's just like I did not grow up watching the Indiana Jones movies, and I feel like a typical house in America has like all of his movies on VHS or DVD back in the day, and I just didn't have those. I never saw them.
They do something interesting in this game. The opening is the very first bit you see of Indiana Jones with the boulder and the weight and Alfred Monla. And that is like you play through that to like get acclimated to what the game is. So that is pretty fun to see that like all reimagined. So I don't know. I'm impressed that they're swinging for the fences with this game. I will say that. I want to get back into it eventually, but it also seems really funny. I've seen some clips of like Donkey playing it, and there's a lot of, you could pretty much pick up anything and throw it at somebody.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot of picking up shovels and clocking people in the head. Great.
Yeah, let me do that in Starfield, Todd. Let me do it in Starfield. So yeah, but it's been getting a lot of attention this week, and they had a little promo at the beginning of the Game Awards that featured Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, so we wanted to make sure that we brought it up. But let's get into all of the announcements that happened. And maybe towards the end we can talk about some of the winners. If you don't already know, Astrobot took the main Game Award slot, So
why would it not?
Like,
why would it not?
Phil and I are happy campers. That's all we needed. And Helldivers 2 also made out like bandits. So I was like, yep, that's great, perfection.
Great year for Sony. Great year for Sony.
Yeah, in what was supposed to be a weak year for Sony, which was, no God of War,
really
no Horizon, no, Naughty Dog game came out, not even like no Ghost of Tsushima. None of their like heavy hitters came out this year, and they still had a great show. So, but yes, let's get into some of the announcements. So first up on the list, Dave the Diver, popular indie title that I have played quite a bit of. My girlfriend loves Dave the Diver, and I think it made it in our top 10 games of last year. Dave the Diver in the Jungle is a new expansion that's going to be coming late next year. And I think that this really seems like it's actually an expansion. Dave the Diver over this here has had a lot of like updates, like free updates, like the Godzilla update and stuff like that, and partnerships with other games, which has been very cool. But they've all been very like, here's a little thing, not like a genuine expansion. So this actually feels like a big expansion coming to Dave the Diver, so I'm really excited about that. The trailer didn't show much, but exciting to see.
Hey, they've been giving us a lot of free stuff for Dave the Diver. They had the Dredge tie-in, a lot of like you said, little things. But it's really cool to see them, realizing, people really like Dave the Diver. Let's go all in. Let's give him a whole expansion. It doesn't say that he's diving in the jungle, so I'm pretty interested to see like what the gameplay is going to change into.
Right.
I think they can handle whatever they're going to do, but I'm just excited to see what their take is.
Yeah, it's like, is it river monsters? Like, what are we talking about? So, all right, moving right along because we got a lot to get through. Palworld has a new expansion that is arriving this month. It is called Feybreak, and it is an entirely new island to explore in Palworld, featuring a whole slew of new things. There's a new gym leader. There's new pals, obviously, but yeah, this is the first like big expansion and just like big area that was not originally on the map. So great to see Palworld still going strong, even though Pokemon's coming at them, or I should say Nintendo's coming at them with the legal force of a Titan, but
of a juggernaut of Rayquaza in a little lawyer's spectacles with his briefcase. I'm excited to see it there. I feel like they're trying to differentiate themselves more, especially in this trailer. They're like, oh look, your guy's got on a power suit and he's just straight up doming little fluffy monsters with a shotgun. I think that's definitely part of what they were trying to do with this trailer, but this trailer also did get me excited to go back into Palworld, see what all my pals are up to, and force them into labor. Do we know if this expansion is like free for the game, or if this is like, because I know they are in alpha build.
I am not sure. Let me see if I can check that out.
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, it's going to be releasing right before Christmas, so December 23rd. But I do not know if this is a paid expansion or not, or if this is just
it's an update.
It's an update.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Nice and free for everyone. We love to see it. All right, pressing on. The next game from the developer of Sifu is an online multiplayer soccer game called Rematch. And this, Phil and I were just talking about it before we started. It pretty much is just like, hey, Rocket League, you realize that you're soccer, right?
Yeah.
Or
what if we made this a cool soccer game that's actually fun?
Oh wow, is that some Rocket League hatred coming through, Phil, or just
No. Rocket League is very fun, and other soccer games also exist.
Yeah, I think FIFA won best sports game, or I should say FC, football club, whatever. It's FIFA.
Yeah,
we all know it's FIFA. So yeah, I mean, it looks cool, but I'll be honest, it's not something that I'm immediately like, this is something that I want to play. It's kind of, even though it does feel very much like, it look very much like Rocket League, it kind of reminded me of like Hogwarts Quidditch. And so, which is like, it was fun, but I it's just not that a type of game that I'm going to play on my own. So if I had a group of friends who were into it, sure. But yeah, not something, it's just not my personal taste, even though I do quite enjoy soccer and did play it for many years when I was younger, but
As someone who played a lot of Sifu, like the controls are very weird at first,
yes.
And then you get used to them, and you're like, oh, okay, I actually feel like I'm blocking. I know what I'm doing.
Right.
If this game can kind of recapture that, but with like sort of doing soccer tricks or like your specific like well-timed kicks, might be pretty interesting. And I think like I could see myself playing that quite a bit. That said, I do feel like Rematch is a game that should be free on PlayStation Plus or like max $20.
Yeah.
Because it's something you want to just get like, hey, all of my friends are playing this because it's free, because they just have it, or because it's a low investment. I feel like that's where we're gonna have the most fun with it.
Yeah, yeah, very much. And speaking of Sifu, so this, Secret Level came out this week. I have watched all of the Secret Levels on Amazon Prime, and one of them is a Pac-Man episode, but it is weird. It is a very, very weird Pac-Man episode. Yes, Phil?
Did you see that they're releasing a Pac-Man game based on that episode now?
That's what I'm about. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. And so like, and that was by the request of the people who gave them permission to use Pac-Man's likeness. They were like, make it so weird, we don't want it to look anything like Pac-Man, and they did. And it was still like, it was still Pac-Man, I guess, but it was weird. And now we are getting a full game that is coming out of that. So it is called Shadow Labyrinth, and I am very interested. This could be like a little sleeper awesome game. So very interested.
It's Metroidvania or search action game. I am very much in love with that type of game, and like the way that they changed up everything for the secret level episode was such a cool twist, and it felt a lot like Love, Death, and Robots, like their sort of origin point. The Sifu episode's great. Paul, are all the episodes they released? This is just like the first week. Is like all these mini episodes, right? They're doing another like anthology each week.
Not each week. So there's only 2 rounds. So the initial release on December 10th was 8 episodes, and then I believe next week they will be releasing another 5. So, but that is it. So I think there are just 13 episodes and whatnot.
I just need my Pac-Man or not Mega Man episode.
Yeah, you need and I want to see Concord because we're never going to see it anywhere else. So, all right, press it right along. Slay the Spire 2 got an official gameplay trailer, and it's still on track for early access in 2025 for those Slay the Spire fans out there. Very exciting. Always good to hear that it's on track to be released and it's not another delay. So yes.
Unlike Silk Song, we know this game is actually coming out. Slay the Spire is a great game. The next thing on our list, Thick as Thieves, looks a lot like the classic Thief games, or even like the Dishonored sort of games, where it's got that very interesting aesthetic, that like sort of steampunky old England, but it's multiplayer. The trailer kind of gave it this real fun, like punky, playful vibe. Seems really fun. I don't know exactly like what that game turns into per se. Like is it match multiplayer? Or is it just like co-op, like the Splinter Cell Extraction missions?
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I'm on board.
Yeah, it looks super cool. It's a lot of honestly, I continue to be surprised by like the little announcements that I was like, oh, okay, all right. I didn't think I'd be into that, but yeah, you have piqued my interest. So, and speaking of another little announcement, so Ninja Gaiden is returning as a side scroller called Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I used to play Ninja Gaiden back in the day, PS3, like Xbox 360 era. I had a friend who was really into it, really good at it too. And so like this is good to see that the franchise is still around, and there it kind of reminds me of what Prince of Persia, and I believe it's called The Lost Crown. I think you played it, right?
Yeah.
But kind of what they're doing, where it's like we're gonna continue this franchise, but we're gonna pull things a little bit back, and we're just gonna try to make a good game. And if we need to reduce some things down, that's fine. So like it's
I
good.
you know I would say that Ninja Gaiden, like their first two games, or rather their two games following the Dead or Alive series, where you follow Ryu and his like third person action game, they were great. I don't know why they are taking a step back. Like, I'm happy that we're getting just another game, but
Yeah,
I'm like, man, give me some more of that classic stuff, because that was fun and in a genre that like only Devil May Cry still makes games in.
right. Well, I mean, it's been a long time since a Ninja Gaiden game came out, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like maybe this is a one of those test the market games.
quite possibly.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, speaking of old franchises coming back, Turok is returning as a co-op dinosaur hunting action game, and it is ditching the first person. And that tells me that they're going to sell us cosmetics. So
Based on the trailer, it definitely kind of reminded me of like Horizon Zero Dawn, but without robots. And sure, seems fun. Like if they can nail it, great. I've never played Horizon Zero Dawn and thought like, man, if I had my buddies here, this would be much better. But maybe this game will make that the case.
yeah, I mean, I think like I don't know. I know that they're both dinosaurs, but I think that they're different styles because this is going to be more like a horde, like a 4-person co-op horde shooter. I think, whereas like Horizon is really more akin to a single player Monster Hunter, where you don't have to, hit the monster 100 times for it to go down. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm childhood fear of dinosaurs, many Jurassic Park nightmares. So I don't know if I'm going to be picking this up, but maybe I'll conquer my fears finally, and I'll kill some dinosaurs. That'll be nice.
On speaking of childhood, Sonic is back in a big way with Sonic Racing CrossWorlds.
Oh man,
Yes, it's not Sonic Crossword, which I think his fan base will soon be very interested in playing as we are aging into extinction. Just kidding. The kids love Sonic now more than ever. Sonic Racing Crossword. Sonic Racing is, if you don't have a Nintendo platform, it is Mario Kart. It is Mario Kart. So like, it's just great to see that there's a new one coming.
Yeah, but why don't they just run? Why are they in cars? Aren't they fast enough to just run?
They probably, they get tired. They got little leggies.
It's like it's why doesn't the Flash have the Flashmobile? It's just like I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not for me.
I would love it if the Flash had a van. This is not connected to anything we're saying. I just would love it if he had a really fast van.
Okay. The Yakuza Like a Dragon dev has announced a new game called Project Century. It is set in 1915, and it's very much feels like Yakuza. And I don't know. I saw the trailer of this. I think it looked pretty cool, but I needed to know more. I guess it almost felt like steampunky a little bit. What if I'm remembering it correctly? So I don't know. It looks cool, but I need to see more. That's where I'm at with that.
I would love to be into the Like a Dragon series. Since they went from being the Yakuza series to the Like a Dragon series. I would love to play I think if I could get my hands on Infinite Wealth on Game Pass when that shows up, then I will take my shot at it, because I hear that's like one of the best ones. But all that to say, I'm really happy for Yakuza fans, because I feel like Yakuza fans, there is a lot of them out there, and they really love these games, and they're getting like to eat so good right now. So very happy for them.
Yeah, I mean they're good stories, good crime dramas, so
Mm.
gotta love it. All right, Sega came out with some announcements this year. I was really surprised, but they are bringing back once again Virtual Fighter. And it's interesting. IGN says, "Oh, they're going to take on Street Fighter and Tekken," but it's like no Mortal Kombat isn't mentioned here. It's like I guess
No.
we're just talking about the Japanese fighting games. So,
The fights happen over there in Japan.
Yeah.
Virtual Fighter. I remember when I bought my Sega Saturn, this was the first, like, I was really stoked. You could get 3 pack-in games with your Sega Saturn. Virtual Fighter was one of them, Daytona USA, and I don't remember the third game, must not have been that good. But the Virtua Fighter, I remember there was this one redheaded dude who would grab you by your legs and throw you off the like little 3-dimensional map. And that game I put hours and hours into. I remember, I think last year at the Game Awards, Sega showed up and were like, "We're bringing back Golden Axe. We're bringing back Jet Set Radio. Get ready, everybody." And this is the first thing they kind of announced. So, excited to see that maybe they'll do something. But please don't let me down, Sega.
I mean, there's a game we don't have on the list here. It was like the first Barbarian that got announced, and I thought that was Golden Axe when the trailer started rolling, but it was not, and so I was surprised we didn't hear anything about it again. So yeah. All right. So now we're getting into kind of more of the AAA, some of the more AAA stuff. So we got the first Borderlands 4 trailer, and it was a cinematic, but it also showed quite a bit of gameplay. We got to look at the new characters in the game, presumably, but I don't know. I feel like they showed us like 6 characters. And I'm like, are these customizable? Because I know with Tiny Tina, you actually got a chance to make your character that time around. So I'm not, but I don't know if that's just because they were playing into the Dungeons and Dragons element of the game. But yeah, I'm pretty worn out with Borderlands, if I'm being honest. But at the same time, I did think it was a good trailer. But like, I did feel like this looks like the exact same engine as Borderlands 4. It looks like the exact same engine as Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. And I really need Borderlands to take a couple of leaps forward, and then it does the loot shot with all the guns and everything. It's like, yeah,
and that looked like it could be from any game.
It's like I'm kind of over that now. So it's like I am tentatively intrigued by this game, but if they want to pull me back into that universe, I really need to see some changes as far as like how the game works or how the loot works or something, because I'm getting kind of burned out with it. Did you watch the trailer, Phil? Were you able to see this?
I did watch the trailer for this. I think the feelings that I got were mostly like kind of generic Borderlands feelings. Like,
sure.
It's oh no, evil robot army, and then like another evil army. Oh no. That all, I don't know. It just looked kind of like they don't know where to go, and so they're just like, we're making up new villains and this and that.
Yeah.
And then the characters looked really boring, and that I feel bad to say this, but the characters, like, I didn't see a defining feature amongst them other than like the one guy with the giant arms and like the man bun, but the rest of them looked all pretty generic. Like almost like characters you would see having a minor role in Tales from the Borderlands. They just didn't look like they were part robot. I don't know.
I want to see it like for me. I want one of two directions. I either, for the characters in Borderlands 4, I want them to actually make them characters with personalities, or I want them to let me make my own character, because I feel like they do this in between thing where it's just like you can pick the character you play as, and he'll have some, or he or she or they will have some vocal lines when you're killing enemies, but ultimately they're not contributing to the narrative. And it's just like, like that's what I think the trailer needed with these characters is they needed to have voice lines where they are contributing to the narrative. Like, why are these characters the ones dealing with this crisis now?
Yeah.
And we didn't get that answer. We just got a bunch of flashy video game shots, and it just in that sense it felt generic. So it's like, I am a Borderlands fan. I do want them to see them succeed, but they got to make some stronger choices, I feel like. So yeah. All right.
It felt very safe.
Yes, totally. All right, I'm gonna rattle off a couple of little teeny tiny stories. So Final Fantasy 16, Clive Rossfield is joining Tekken 8. If you're a Tekken fan, you're a Final Fantasy fan, he's coming to Tekken 8 this month, and that's very, very exciting.
I have a friend who is both. He is so excited about this, and I'm very happy for him, and I know like probably 20 other people in the world. Just kidding. Probably a lot more than 20.
And then we got Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is officially coming to PC, and The Last of Us Part 2 is also officially coming to PC. No surprises there. Pretty typical things. All right, and pressing on. So the Outer Worlds 2 has finally gotten a trailer where we saw some gameplay. Outer Worlds 2 is being worked on by friend of the show, Austin Merritt, who's a level designer on the game, or an environment designer, I should say. I think that's his specific title. But if you haven't checked out our Obsidian interview over on our channel and you're curious about the Outer Worlds 2, head over and check out that interview. But yeah, I think it looked good. It felt like, I'm not a big Fallout fan, but it looked like really fun, colorful Fallout with personality. And like, this is the company that brought you Fallout New Vegas. So I feel like this is like Fallout New Vegas unleashed. And so I'm pretty excited. I'm probably going to be picking this one up. Did you catch this trailer?
I did. I definitely feel like Outer Worlds. Sorry, not Outer Wilds. That was a rough year when the two of those came out at the same time.
Yes.
Outer Worlds has always, and Obsidian has, but specifically Outer Worlds, always had a really great sense of humor, especially in their marketing for their games. And I think like the game itself, like just, the humor didn't necessarily land with me, but I think also because the gameplay was kind of not quite where I wanted it to be either. So all that to say, I think that I was kind of waiting for the Outer Worlds 2 to be like from Assassin's Creed to Assassin's Creed 2. That people always like chart that as the way game sequels should work, of just expanding on the first one, giving it more stuff.
Right.
This one seems like it's doing that exactly. They even kind of nod to that in the trailer. So I'm excited to play it because I'd love a good Fallout or Obsidian style RPG.
Yeah. And that trailer narrator and the script for that narrator, they're just so on point, where they just make fun of themselves. It's great. A lot of companies can't do that. So Capcom is bringing back Onimusha. So this is something that the internet exploded about, and I was like, I don't know what this is. So it was just a cinematic trailer. But can you fill me in on what I am missing out on, Phil? Are you familiar at all?
So Onimusha games were kind of like an answer to Resident Evil. Like they were similarly tank controlled back in the day.
Okay.
But it was in feudal Japan. You were playing as a samurai, and as a young scared boy who couldn't really handle playing Resident Evil, this was the game for me, because you were a badass samurai with a sword that didn't run out of bullets. You were absorbing the souls of the dead that you killed. So the fights were challenging, but sometimes you would just run into a zombie and you're like, lop its head right off.
Right. Cool.
Onimusha, he's a badass character. Later games, I believe the third or fourth one, you actually team up with Jean-Claude Van
Damme? No.
No, the actor from Leon the Professional, I can't. Jean Reno.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
I think he either comes back in time or something, but he's got like this cool whip made of metal that like forms out of his arm.
Ooh.
Such a wild series of games, but if you like anything like Resident Evil, but want a little bit more action heavy, this is the mode, and it's also got that cool Japanese like feudal setting. So yeah, I can see why a lot of people are excited because the Omnimusha game was really popular, and I think they sort of petered out, but people still have a lot of love for that franchise.
Sure. Sure. Well, right on. Yeah, I've been seeing like crazy reaction videos on TikTok and YouTube and whatnot. So I'm glad they're bringing it back for the fans. All right, and speaking of the fans, I just turned one on. No, so there's a new game called Split Fiction. It is a co-op adventure game, and it is from the creators of It Takes Two and A Way Out. And the Yosef, who is the game director on it, very cocky individual, came out and did a presentation. This game essentially to me looked like It Takes Two, but we're actually going to build a narrative and then orient this as like a video game where we're jumping over between like the genres of sci-fi video game and fantasy video game. And so it feels a little older than It Takes Two a little bit. So that seemed really cool. I will say though, I thought that the trailer for this went on way too long. It was one of those things where it's like, all right, you showed me 3 minutes, and then they kept going. Like, let's explain this mechanic. Let's explain that mechanic. And it's just like, let me discover the mechanics when I play the game. You know, don't walk me through it at the announcement, you know? So it's just like, you know, it's like when you're watching a TV show and it's like next time, and it's just like, I have Hulu, I can go to the next episode. Don't show me next time, even though it's gonna play, and then they go, it's next time, and then it's this time on the episode, and it's just like, just get to the episode. It's just, you know. Anyway, so I think it looks very interesting. I'm intrigued. I'm glad to see that they're taking the formula that worked so well for It Takes Two and applying it to a slightly different genre. But yeah, trailer too long, too much explanation for me.
I mean, I think I played A Way Out with my buddy Joe for a stream, and we like just did it in 2 sittings, and that was a really remarkable and fun experience. These aren't games like you're super gonna replay, I think, but love that they only charge for 1 copy of the game, but then you get a code to give a friend so you can play with them. So you can kind of split the cost of the game. I think that is a great business model. But outside of that, yeah, I'm like, I love these guys' experiences. So whatever you want to send me, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Graphically, it looked very impressive.
It did. It really did. Something I skipped. Mafia: The Old Country had a reveal trailer, and I gotta like, look, I'm Italian. You know, I like mobster movies. I like mobster shows, and I gotta say, this cinematic for Mafia: The Old Country, it looked really good. And I'll be honest, like, I wasn't crazy about Mafia 3. Also, by the way, all the Mafia games, I think the Mafia Definitive Collection is like on sale right now because of this announcement. So if you're interested in picking up the Mafia games, go check that out. But yeah, Mafia: The Old Country looks really good, really interesting story. I like that they're in Italy. I like the distance in eras, and I am now excited for this game, as opposed to it being this elusive thing out in the middle of nowhere in my mind. So
I am lovingly calling it Red Dead Spaghetti, because it looks like it's got like a lot of that Red Dead Redemption style to it, and like the characters and all this stuff. I'm very excited to give it a shot, like, because it's just such a very different setting. Like the Mafia games were a different setting because it was kind of Grand Theft Auto but placed in a different time, and
totally
each of their games have done something pretty wild just with where they're placed in the game and the vibe of it. Mafia 3 had one of my favorite features in all of gaming, where when you're driving around, you get like the GPS stuff on road signs, like they would just propagate it of like, oh, you want to turn this way. Really, really great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, So an announcement I went crazy for last night when I was watching this live, and after a couple of glasses of wine, was that Helldivers 2 had a surprise announcement. Omens of Tyranny is their next expansion, and guess what? It's out and live right now, and it was out and live last night at the Game Awards. The Illuminate, the long-awaited third faction from Helldivers 1, is back in Helldivers 2 right now. They are invading the planet Calypso, I believe, and this is an entire new faction. I played it last night. They are terrifying to fight.
Really?
Nice. like they are far and away tough. So and I was playing with my friends and trying to figure out what loadouts to bring, because it was tough, and it felt very War of the Worlds because of the tripod things that come at you, and they've also added, along with this, urban environments. They've added finally, we have some vehicles in the game. We have, we've had mechs before, but now we actually have a warthog or a truck with a machine gun on the back of it. So that's very exciting. And this morning, they actually dropped a war bond to go along with not the Tyranid, I'm thinking Space Marine, the Illuminate update. So, and in the war bond, we've got our first dedicated melee weapon. There's personal shields now. They've added supply pods with turrets on them. There's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that they packed in, and it was great to see Helldivers at the Game Awards. And the fact that they actually brought out John Helldiver was pretty cool. So, he was on stage doing the announcement live. So I was stoked. I was stoked.
I love that they were just. I mean, their trailer was incredible. First of all, they have so many great lines. Like, we're going to take back control of freedom. There's they've taken their minds, and even worse, they've taken their freedom. The game is leaning into what it is, and on top of all of that, it seems notable. And you played this, so you probably have more of an answer. But it seems like they went from the Starship Troopers to the Terminators, so now we almost have a super strong aliens, but also zombies is kind of the enemy. That's great.
That's really what took me by surprise, and there are so many of them that it really feels like, I think I saw a comparison online today that it was like the Illuminate update feels like World War Z meets War of the Worlds, and that's kind of what it is. Cool. It's it's War of the Worlds with the big tripods, but then it's zombies just coming at you, and it's a lot to deal with. And they will keep coming. So, and just
so fun.
Everything about how the new faction works, like how they call reinforcements, is different. Everything, like they have shields on most things, and you have to figure out how to deal with shields now.
That's cool.
Yeah. So really great update. I'm excited to play more of it. Unfortunately, I'm working this weekend, so I probably won't have a lot of time to do that. But I'm so excited that it came out this year. Very, very, very stoked. All right.
Next up, we have Dispatch, which is the new game from Telltale. It actually looks different, looks good. It looks like they realized they could put a new engine together. It looks a lot like a more smooth version of Hi-Fi Rush. The animations in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it looks like an animated movie.
It does.
It looks really close to an animated movie. And the new engine thing, I know it seems simple, but it's just like Telltale was being held back by their engine for so long. I feel like they won Game of the Year with their original Walking Dead game, and they got a lot of praise for The Wolf Among Us and everything. And then they just kept, all right, well, we're just going to keep, pooping out games with this engine. Well, and it's like, this is a strong step forward, I feel like.
I feel like they probably got a lot of people coming up to be like, hey, make this game. And they prioritized those new sales over making improving their stuff. So it seems now they've had some time to focus on it. They have gone back. They're doing that. The concept of it is Aaron Paul's main character. He works at a dispatch place for superheroes, so he like deploys superheroes to situations that they are needed. I kind of wonder from the trailer, we don't get too much into indication, but I wonder if the game is, part Telltale making decisions. Everybody hated that, everybody liked that, to also like, okay, I'm sending this superhero here, or kind of like a Papers, Please style game where you're playing the job as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're the guy in the van that gets dragged into things. So I think this is a great concept. I think it looks great, and I wasn't expecting to be impressed by a Telltale announcement. So very interested. I'm curious. I don't think we got any release window for this, but it's stoked to see that they have a great cast as well. All right.
Is the next one our Elden Ring?
Elden Ring time.
Yeah. More Elden Ring. Good news, everybody. No, I feel like this was a huge one, kind of a surprise. But also, it wasn't like, I think it was a surprise in the way of like, oh wow, I didn't know they were making more Elden Ring, and not like a whole new Elden Ring game, like Elden Ring 2. So Elden Ring Night Reign is a standalone co-op spin-off of Elden Ring, where you play with up to 3 other friends in like a squad, and you're sort of doing these runs where you have to survive for 3 nights. And then each night you'll fight some big boss, and then it's kind of got this roguelike feature where the terrains, the battles, all of that will change on your different runs. So excited to see that. Excited that they're taking what is kind of like one type of game and then very much making it a new type of game. Was there anything from the trailer that caught your eye, Paul?
I mean, I thought that the traversal was really good, but at the same time, it's kind of, again, like I'm not a huge Elden Ring fan. I think it's a good game. I've played it. I enjoyed what I've played of it, but as someone who hasn't played like the Dark Souls games and Demon Souls, Sekiro, Bloodborne, that kind of stuff, it's just like, oh, in Night Reign, you can run up the wall and grab a ledge. And it's like, that's great. But like, that's kind of a feature that I would expect in a lot of games, And so like for me, I'm saying to myself, yeah, that would have been really great to have an Elden Ring original, so I could actually get up a ledge instead of having to, you know what I mean? And so like it looks cool. I think this is going to be very successful. I think roguelike, like the template of a roguelike fits very well with Elden Ring. And if they can improve the multiplayer in Elden Ring, that's even better, because that's another thing that I, had to be onboarded with Elden Ring, of like, oh, well, you need to use this item, and then somebody is allowed to join your game, and it's just like, why can't I just not join somebody's game? Like, why does it need to be this complicated? So hopefully,
I like that it's diegetic, but God, it's weird.
Yeah. Yes. So like, hopefully this is a little bit more streamlined, but it looks like there's quality of life things being added. You saw like you have like this bird or flying creature, whatever, that lifts you up. And so I think those are going to be things that are going to be very rewarding to players who love Elden Ring, and they've spent and invested a lot of time in it. So I'm excited for them.
This kind of feels like they're testing, like, I'm trying to think of another example of this, but sometimes a game will get released and it's not a big difference from the first game, but they've added some new features, like the wall running, like the flying, like I feel like they are just printing money to put into the production of Elden Ring 2, and they're like, oh, let's test out some new features while we have the time here. Like, let's see how level design works when you can grapple on to a wall and you have to like walk around a bunch of things, or when we give them more mobility, let's see how easy it is to have a level set up.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we see this in the next Bloodborne, the next Elden Ring, the next,
Yeah, I mean, also it kind of reminds me of what was that? What was the last it was the what was the last God of War game before God of War 2018, where it had the
It was that
multiplayer.
multiplayer one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's kind of
Chains of Olympus. No, it's
no,
not.
that was a PSP game. I don't know. We'll figure that out.
Mm.
But yeah, it kind of feels like that where it's like, oh, we're gonna, even though Elden Ring already had multiplayer, we're gonna push the limit on that, and we're gonna make a dedicated, thing. So very very
God of
cool.
War Ascension. God of War
Ascension.
Ascension.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. That is what I was thinking of. All right, moving on to probably my favorite trailer of the night, which I think was the first trailer at the Game Awards, and this was The Witcher 4. Was finally debuted. We got the confirmation that Ciri is the protagonist, and it was good to see Ciri. I feel like they aged her up. Like, she's a full-grown woman. She's not some 18-year-old running through the forest anymore. And so it felt like a classic Witcher trailer, where it's like, I'm gonna go fight the monsters. I'm gonna deal with these idiot people who think that everything is like the gods.
They think that this is a god. Yeah.
Yeah, everything like that. And so I was a little disappointed. I thought that, like, because I know Geralt is not going to be the focus of the game, but I would have liked to see him as what I would have liked out of the, like, Luke Skywalker in the new trilogy, where it's like he would be the mentor periodically, to like smile and grin in the background or something like that. And that's just because I love Geralt.
I'm sure he will do that.
Yes.
I'm sure that he's going to be like, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just really excited because of all the crap that CD Projekt Red had to sort out with Cyberpunk. It feels like finally that has been put to bed, and they are focusing on The Witcher 4, and to the extent that they're able to put out a cinematic trailer about it. And yeah, and I think that because Ciri is the protagonist, there's a lot of new things you can add to the game in regards to magic, because a regular Witcher has the Witcher signs that he can use or she can use, but Ciri also has access to magic, and so there could be different ways to progress as her that gives you flexibility while still being true to the universe. So I'm really excited about it. No secret, Witcher 3 is my favorite RPG of all time. So that's how it is.
No,
That's how it is.
I do think it's exciting because Geralt is a pretty powerful character by the end of the Witcher games, but Ciri kind of represents like this untapped like I feel like the Witcher 3, you're following her around because she is like so powerful. Everybody's trying to get their hands on her.
Yeah.
It is kind of cool to then take the boots of that character and put them on and be like, okay, now this character is not just the most powerful, this like a well of potential. Now they are a badass and they are putting that potential to good use. Excited for it. Excited to see, because The Witcher 3 came out. It feels about 2 generations old now. I guess it is just 1 generation old, but it will still be really cool to see that updated. Because even Cyberpunk looked really, really great compared to The Witcher, and like just see the steps that they keep making. Oof, I'm excited.
Yeah. Heck yes. All right. 2 more announcements to get through. Okami 2 was unveiled at the Game Awards. This is, again, a game that I don't know that much about, to be honest. So, but yes, it was good to see. I definitely recognize the dog, that I guess it always reminds me of like Ninetales from Pokemon, which I'm sure people are going to be offended at. But, but that's always the vibe that I get from this. So, like, I thought that the trailer looked very artistic. I love the art style, very true to Okami. But I never played Okami, so I'm not, doesn't pull on my heartstrings in the same way. Are you an Okami fan?
No, I never got to play the original. I think the concept therein was always something that I was interested in, because it's sort of like a third person, not a third person. It's like a side-scrolling adventure, and you had to use these like different signs, and like you were painting the environment around you and doing all this interesting stuff. But if they can make the game look like that art style and kind of like give it a really heartfelt message, like kind of lean in and make it almost the Spider-Verse in their sense of just really crazy through the roof art style on top of a good game.
Mhm.
I'm definitely interested to try the new Okami, even though I'm missing the reference point of the old one.
Sure.
Um, every now and again, there comes along a game where I'm like, man, I'm bummed I missed that, but I feel like I missed the train completely. And
Mhm.
I'm excited to see when a sequel comes along. Like, okay, I can hop on finally. I can see what Resident Evil's all about.
I thought Okami at some point was like on Game Pass, but maybe I'm misremembering that.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, last but certainly not least, a surprise announcement. I don't think anybody saw this coming, but Naughty Dog has announced their next game franchise. This is not a sequel to The Last of Us or Uncharted or Jack and Daxter as much as I wanted it, uh, but
Hey, it might be a sequel to at least Uncharted. You don't know.
I mean, it could be a sequel to any of them, I guess, if we're going to space. So that's what space does. It opens up the possibilities. So their next game, Naughty Dog's next game, is called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. So it already has a subtitle, which is telling me that this is looking to be a full franchise where they're going to make multiple games, which falls in line with what Naughty Dog usually does. But this felt so distant from any other Naughty Dog game I've ever seen. Um, and so, like, you could definitely tell that the storytelling and the animation were there. But yeah, so you're in space. We don't really know much about it, and I'm really trying. I'm like racking my brain trying to figure out how Naughty Dog is going to do this, because I know that they're very narrative and story first when it comes to their experiences, at least lately. And so, is this going to be a very narrative, linear game, or are they going to open it up a little bit? I don't know. I don't know what Naughty Dog is in 2024. I haven't heard from them in a while. So,
Yeah.
what were your initial impressions with this, Phil?
I really love the visual aesthetics. I like that Naughty Dog also is kind of now going the Hideo Kojima route and like picking actors that they like and putting them into their games. The main character who is in this game is, I believe, going to be in the Last of Us series in season two.
Mm-hmm.
They also have, I believe, I think it's Tom Dalton, the an actor from a bunch of things, most notably Better Call Saul and the Hawkeye series. But he's playing a role based on like one of the pictures. I like all that. I like that it
Kumail
is
Nanjiani.
Kumail Nanjiani
Yeah.
is in there as well.
Yeah.
Um, so excited for all that, and like just what they've done with their games in the past. Like if this could be something that has the serious like attention to detail and story structure of like Uncharted or The Last of Us, but give us some of that fun zany like Jack and Daxter like
Yeah.
gameplay, I would be so in.
Yeah, it seems, I don't know, like, do you think they're pulling away from realism a little bit? Because I feel like The Last of Us was, very grounded in its gameplay and its storytelling. It's like, oh, she's got a laser sword and she's going to go fight a robot. So it's like, okay, this is not The Last of Us vibe at all.
It,
um,
this almost feels like an 80s cartoon like GI Joe or Transformers in the like you're talking to this contact with like an eye patch, and like you're getting your job and the characters doesn't
yeah.
take it too seriously and they're like playing tunes. um so I kind of like that Hemingway hero like vibe for this, because they've been so serious with the last few games. Like you've really felt the character could be in danger and could die, and I
Mhm.
want something a little bit more lighthearted from them where they can take bigger swings and do crazy stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and also the product placement. What was up with the product placement? We saw Porsche was the maker of her Starship. She was
Yeah.
wearing Adidas shoes. Like Sony, I know that Sony's going to be in there, and that's how you could tell that it was an exclusive Sony game. Is like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, they're playing CDs. Yes, Sony, we remember you
Hmm.
invented the CD. We remember. like, so, like, yeah. So hold on, I'm looking at a quote here from the game. So the main character's name is Jordan, and she will have to use all of her skills and wits if she hopes to be the first person in over 600 years to leave a planet's orbit. So that is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's bounty hunter stranded on Simpura, disciplined his communications with the outside universe, went dark hundreds of years ago. So yeah, whatever they're doing with it, like it just seems the tone is so wildly different, but it also does kind of seem like a little dark and dire. But they're more tongue in cheek about it, like.
I think to me the vibe you were talking about, like G.I. Joe, like very 80s, like similarly I think it feels like, is this Star Wars meets Guardians of the Galaxy? Like that was kind of what I was getting from this. So I'm super curious. I have no idea when this is coming out, when we're going to see actual gameplay. And maybe we did already see actual gameplay because Naughty Dog's sneaky like that.
Yeah.
so yeah, but that is it for the announcements. There were some other announcements as well. We didn't there's so many of them. We don't have the time to go through every single little thing, but we wanted to cover all of the big things. So thank you for hanging tight with us for that. But yeah, I guess before we wrap up, Phil, just any reactions, or like we could, we talked all about the Game Awards. We didn't talk about really any of the winners other than saying like Astrobot and Helldivers did well. But I just on a personal note, this is usually the Game Award winners piss me off, but this year I was like, yeah, I agree with pretty much every winner in every category. So it made me happy this year, so I'll take the win. I'll take the W. Like that's all I need.
No, I definitely feel like we I have friends who are really pulling for Metaphor and for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. But I think at the end of the day, like nothing kind of encapsulates just the joy of gaming as much as Astrobot did. So I'm very, very happy to see that. And similarly, Helldivers was such a moment, and it continues to be such a fun thing to play with your friends, and it creates a sort of teamwork that you don't see otherwise or often in games. So yeah, overall, I'm just really happy with the fact that those things got pointed out. Not that it's necessarily going to sway the way that games are made, but I like when in this industry that has a lot of trends, that the trendsetters are things that I firmly agree with. Like, yes, you are doing the right thing. Please keep doing more of this.
Absolutely. And I mean, both Helldivers and Astrobot, I think they won in 4 separate categories each, something like that. Also, Balaltro won, I think, 3 different categories. Helldivers got Best Ongoing Game. Metaphor Refantasio got some love with Best Narrative and Best Art Direction, and Best RPG. So, and I've heard, that's not my genre of game personally, but I've heard good things. And I think, whenever you have a game of the year, that people are surprised by because it doesn't feel like a very hardcore game, I feel like people are more likely to purchase that game because it's game of the year. So we were talking about Telltale earlier. I remember when the first Walking Dead game won game of the year, and I was like, what? It won game of the year? And that night I was like, I'm going to go buy
I guess I gotta try it.
Try it. And so I'm hoping that people will have that attitude with Astrobot, because I think, you can watch videos of Astrobot, but you really don't get how fun it is until you're really sitting down and playing it and giving it a chance. And it's just, it is so fun. It's ridiculous. So
I'd hope this becomes one the Christmas game this year for parents to get for their kids if they have a PlayStation.
Absolutely.
Seems such easy money, but
yeah. And shout out to Frostpunk, Best Strategy Game. What's up? It's also Frostpunk is also on Steam in the Steam Awards, being voted for Best Game You Suck At. So that is go vote for it there as well.
That's really funny.
Grand Theft Auto got Most Anticipated Game, and we got no trailer. Uh, so
That's actually kind of a bigger slap in the face, and I love that.
League of Legends won best esports game, and I'm kind of like, is that because of Arcane? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
so, but that's, I don't know. That's just me being suspicious. Mm,
Everything's a conspiracy, Paul.
I
It's
know.
true.
It's the world we live in right now. We got drones over New Jersey and Temecula.
Mhm.
Like,
They're everywhere.
they're
The
everywhere.
FBI recently said, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah, don't worry about it. There are defense drones. Anyway, all right. Well, I think that's about it for our time this week. If you have any last thoughts, Phil, before we wrap up this episode.
We need to talk about it. Marvel Legends absolutely slaps. I can't wait to fully dive into that later.
Yes, we will talk about that next week. But I think next week will probably be our last show of the year, and we are going to be doing our game of the years as well. So be looking forward to that. We're gonna figure out the format. We might do it like last year. We might not. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. But I will slot in some time to talk about Marvel Rivals because we have been having some good fun with that. So yeah, but thank you for listening, everybody, and happy Game Awards 2024, and we will see you next time. Yeah, you got the golf clap. Very good.